So tell me your name, age, occupation, and where you come from.
My name is Elizabeth. I'm 23. I am a student and I come from Chicago.
Okay. So when did you first hear about the Camino, and what was it about what you heard that made you decide that you wanted to walk it?
I first heard about the Camino when I was a child. My family did sections of it when I was about 7, and I've always loved hiking, so the idea of a very lengthy hike through the Spanish countryside appealed to me.
Okay. Right. So everybody's got a story about why they're walking the Camino. What's yours?
For me, I saw it as a way of stepping away from some of my life in Chicago and a way of reconnecting with my faith, reconnecting with nature, and reconnecting with learning how to take my time and enjoy some of the simpler things and the things that truly make me happy.
Okay. So where did you start? And if you don't know exactly how many days you've been walking, you can tell me what date you started and what date it is today.
I started in Saint Jean Pied de Port, and I've been walking about 20 days. 20 days, and I've taken a few rest days.
Okay. And this is your first Camino, yes?
This is my first Camino.
Okay. So, what are your hopes and dreams? What do you hope to achieve by walking the Camino?
I think more than anything else, for me personally, it's a way of re-solidifying being open and kind-hearted, and also being open in terms of my faith, being open to having conversations with God, and being open to receiving lessons and guidance as I go through life, and also just reconnecting with my true love and joy of nature in a way that's silent and appreciative.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And do you think you might come back and walk it again?
I think I would love to come back and do the Camino from Madrid. I think I would enjoy passing through that part of the countryside and passing through some of those realms of history. So there's a lot of history in the paths that you're taking and in the steps that you're taking. And the route that we're taking is laden with its own history, its own energy that's been laid down by the pilgrims before it. And I think the history coming from Madrid would be very different, but also very special.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned earlier to me that you've got a connection with Madrid.
Yes, I lived in Madrid when I was a child. So I spent all of my childhood there, so it's near and dear to my heart. And I think it would just be, they say that you start the Camino the day that you first step outside of your home. And I think for me, starting off from Madrid would be a very meaningful starting point.
Okay, that's good. So, on this Camino, have you had any realizations, epiphanies, or spiritual experiences?
Yes, so I took a day off when I was in La Rioja, and I went to a town called Cordovin, which comes from Latin meaning heart of wine. And I took a day off there, and I spent the day in a very small village, and I interacted with a lot of the people that lived there, and they taught me more about the craft of making wine and how they cultivate the grapes and what the seasonal process is and how it's changed in modern times in the past 100 years or so. But I also took a walk through the vineyards, through the mountains. And one of the vineyards I went to, they have a mountain range that's near it that they call, oh my goodness, I can't remember the name, but it's called, there's a name that the local people that originally lived there had for this mountain range, and there was a god that they believed lived in that mountain range.
Oh, okay.
And one of the wines that they had at this place was named after the name for that god.
Oh, okay.
And I was walking through the vineyard, and the mountain range was there, and I was thinking of all the things that I was thankful and grateful for in the nature. I was thinking of how thankful I was for the beautiful day, the gorgeous breeze, the smell of the grapevines as they were growing in the early summer, and I could just feel the energy and the faith that I'd been missing sort of come back to me. And I could feel that the conversation I was having was a bit more two-sided again than it had been in a really long time, and it felt genuine to me, like it was something that I truly believed rather than something that I was struggling to remember how to believe in.
Okay.
That it was sitting honestly in my heart, and that whatever God in those mountains that those people had believed in is the same one that I believe in. That for me is in a great many other places.
Okay, well, that's great. And I'm going to ask you about your impressions of other pilgrims on the Camino, and by that I mean generally, but also if there's any pilgrim that you've met that has made a particular impression on you.
Well, I think I've met quite a few people that do begin the Camino as an athletic challenge, as a hike, not a pilgrimage. And it's been kind of amazing to see some of the people that I started with in St. John who are you don't necessarily need to have any kind of faith or religion. You can just be thinking through your own things. But it's amazing to see how that time walking and that time in solitude and in silence is bringing up things that people thought they had forgotten and helping them resolve things in their past, things in their childhood, maybe happy or bad or sad things that they didn't realize they were holding on to. And so it's been amazing to see as the walk goes on how people become more introspective, more reflective, and more hopeful of what's to come when they go home. That's been really beautiful because I think there is for a lot of people this misunderstanding that it's just a really long hike, and then when they come on it and they're forced to have all of that time alone, but they're also surrounded by this community of people that's eager to talk to them, get to know them, and have deeper conversations, and they find parts of themselves uncovered that they weren't expecting. I think that's been pretty incredible. I've also met quite a few people that are grieving significant losses in their life, and I met one Spanish man named Joaquin who lost his wife and also recently retired from his job. He was a firefighter, and now he's in his 60s. He's done doing that. And as soon as he retired, his wife passed away. And so now he's alone and doesn't know what he's doing next. And for him walking the Camino, it's amazing to see how he finds the happiness and the joy in his grief, if that makes sense. That he finds, instead of thinking of the hurt and the pain, he finds himself thinking of the positive things and the happy memories of her, and the things that she might have loved in a good way. And also thinking of the kids that he has, the legacy that he's left, and what he wants to go back home to, and what kind of example he wants to set for his grandchildren, now that that's the future that he thinks he has. And so that was really beautiful. We had a really long conversation about grief and pain and life and depth and how you go forward with it.
I like having the background noises. It adds to
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So, you've told me that. I was going to ask you, actually, have you heard any stories in the Camino that have made a particular impression on you? I suppose that would be the one, yeah?
Yeah. He is from this village in Sevilla called Utrera, and he brought all of these little ribbons with him, these blue ribbons that have the name of his village on it, so that he could leave them everywhere he goes, like leave a little mark of where he's from, and show that someone from there is doing the Camino. And he hikes a lot faster than I do, so it's been kind of nice because we had this amazing day walking together early in the morning. And now as I go along, anytime I come to the place where people have tied ribbons onto some of the fence posts, I find his ribbon that he's tied, and it does kind of feel like I'm walking in his footsteps, and I know that he's ahead of me and he's still doing it. It feels nice. Yeah, we're still connected even though I haven't spoken to him in weeks.
Okay. Is there a place on the Camino that particularly touched or affected you? I think you've pretty much answered that
La
one as well.
Rioja, yeah.
It
just, I love it there because they're also, like, the city of Nájera has had, like, a history of Catholics, Muslims, and Jews coexisting for 1,000 years now. They've had a Jewish quarter, an Islamic quarter, and a Catholic quarter. And the fact that when you go there today, those three religions are still coexisting and have been peacefully for quite some time in the heart of Spain, which is not a country known for that, was really just kind of fascinating. I also just love La Rioja because, regardless of the ways that the wine industry has changed in the past 100 years, a lot of the values and the notions and the way that people live their daily lives has remained comfortingly the same for a very long period of time. And you can kind of feel that, like, contentedness and that, like, it's a fast but a different pace of life. And I really, coming from a big city, it was really nice to see that history and to feel that there.
Okay.
And the passion for wine is amazing. The passion for the grapes, the sunshine that grows them, the way that they're pressed, the wood that they're stored in, it was incredible.
I just remembered I was in a bar in that region, and one of my friends asked for some lemonade in her wine, and she got a look of absolute disgust.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So,
Yeah.
did you bring a stone to leave at the Cruz de Ferro?
No.
No.
No, I didn't. I did not, but I picked up an almond from an almond tree along the way, and I left that there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why?
I've been carrying the almond with me since one of my first week. I'd had it in my backpack the whole time, and I'd been intending at some point to crack it open and eat it, but I didn't. And it was the closest thing I had to a stone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I didn't bring a stone with me from Chicago. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're the first person I've interviewed since passing the Cruz de Ferro. What was your impression of Cruz de Ferro? Did you? Well, I'm not going to put words into your mouth. What was your impression of the Cruz de Ferro?
I was miserable the day that I reached Cruz de Ferro. I don't know what it was. I was really cranky. It was really, really cranky, really grumpy, really unhappy going up that hill. I considered numerous times whether or not I could just hop a bus and get to the town that I was intending to get to, or whether or not I could hitchhike or do something else, and I was just really cranky. And then when I left my stone, I guess I hadn't thought about this, but the past few days since I left, I have felt quite a bit, my almond, I felt quite a bit lighter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Less grumpy.
And last but not least, there's a legend that you're supposed to meet your true love on the Camino. Have you heard the legend?
No, I've never heard that.
Okay. Right, thank you very much.
Yeah. Is that actually a legend? Is that real?
I have no idea.